Welcome to Mystery Story, where history's unanswered questions refuse to sleep. Tonight we travel back to March 1918 to meet a ship so large it dwarfed most vessels of its day, and to follow it into silence. The USS Cyclops, a steel giant, a floating warehouse, a lifeline of war. Over 300 men aboard, 10,000 tons of manganese ore below, a routine voyage to Baltimore, then no radio, no distress call, no trace. For a century, people have searched for explanations. Storms, sabotage, mutiny, rogue waves, magnetic forces, even legends of a cursed triangle. But for all the maps and all the theories, the ocean has kept its secret. This film is not a fantasy. It is a reconstruction of the world at war, of a ship at work, of a captain under suspicion, and of a silence that still holds. We will move with the Cyclops from Brazil to Barbados, plot her last course, examine the records, listen to families, and test the theories with cold logic and open minds. Because somewhere between certainty and myth lies a simple, impossible question. How does a ship this big just disappear? The year is 1918. Across Europe, the Great War grinds through its fourth year. Trenches claw the continent like open wounds. Men measure time by shells and whistles. Nations fight not just with soldiers, but with steel, coal, oil, and ore. The United States entered the war in 1917, late but decisive. America's factories roar to life. Railways thunder with supplies. Over the horizon, the Atlantic is no longer a highway. It is a battlefield of merchants, escorts, and silent predators. Steel is the war's skeleton. But good steel needs manganese. Without manganese, steel becomes brittle. Guns burst, hulls crack, rails splinter. Brazil's ore fields answer the call, and America's colliers, the Navy's coal and ore carriers, become the vital arteries of an army an ocean away. Convoys form, zigzagging across grey water to confuse submarines. Escorts drop depth charges. Wireless operators scan the air for a dash of Morse that might mean danger or salvation. In this strain of industry and fear, a handful of enormous auxiliary ships do the quiet backbreaking work of feeding the fleet. Among them, none is more famous or infamous than the USS Cyclops. To understand how she could vanish, we must first know what she was. Commissioned in 1910, Cyclops belonged to the Proteus-class colliers, steel workhorses built to move mountains of fuel and ore. She stretched over 540 feet from bow to stern, with a beam wide enough to make tugs feel small. Beneath, her deck, cavernous holds, steel frames, bulkheads, and long spans that let cargo pour in by the thousands of tons. She was not fast. She did not need to be. She was strong, or so everyone believed. Engineers admired her capacity and worried, quietly, about what capacity can do to a hull. Our ship is a compromise. Long enough to carry, stiff enough to survive, flexible enough to ride a living sea. Load her wrong, and weight becomes a weapon. Some reports suggest that when fully burdened with dense ore, Cyclops rode low, her freeboard shrinking. In calm water, that is simply a number. In a wrong sea, it is a risk. Her mission in early 1918, carry Brazilian manganese to American mills. Straightforward, essential, and as it would turn out, final. On paper, Captain George W. Worley was competent, an experienced master entrusted with a Leviathan. In memory, he is a storm. He was born in Germany, immigrated to the United States, and built a career that put him at the Cyclops' bridge. In peacetime, this background might have been a footnote. In wartime, it became a shadow. Crew accounts vary. Some called him strict, decisive, and efficient. Others described a temper that flared like a match, punishments that stung, and a manner that could humiliate men in front of their peers. Stories circulated of him appearing on deck in his long underwear, a pistol at his side, pacing like a restless sentinel. Are such stories exaggerated? Perhaps. But rumors live only where air supports them. The essential truth is simpler. Morale aboard Cyclops was not perfect, and in any system under stress, steel or human, imperfections matter. When the Cyclops failed to arrive, Worley's origins and manner would merge into a single accusation in the public mind. Could he have betrayed the ship? Did he divert her? Did he refuse to call for help? We must be cautious. There is no evidence he committed treachery. There is, however, reason to explore why so many believed he could have. Our ship is steel and schedules, until you meet the people. Cyclops carried over 300 officers, sailors, engineers, cooks and stewards. Most were young, some were seasoned, all were tired. Life aboard a collier is work that stains the hands. Coal dust crawls into lungs and clothing. Ore coats everything in a fine metallic grit. The ship breathes to the rhythm of engines. Men breathe to the rhythm of watches. 4 hours on, 4 off forever. In the cramped galley, coffee anchors the night. In the engine room, heat wraps around the body like a furnace. On deck, wind cuts at the bones. In the bunks, letters wait, like talismans, folded anchors from a world that smells like bread and trees. Before the final northbound run, Cyclops went south to Brazil, into a web of supply that tied jungles and mines to mills and foundries. The Atlantic changes with latitude. Blue becomes slate. Seas simmer or pound depending on seasons and storms. The ship made her way steady, doing the work. At Brazilian ports, winches rattled, and the hold swallowed manganese, dense, granular, indifferent. Men wiped sweat with blackened sleeves. Paperwork moved across desks. Signatures became cargo. Cargo became fate. When cargo is uniform and heavy, loading is not simply fill it up. Where the weight goes matters as much as how much. Proper trimming and ballast are not formalities, they are survival. These are the quiet choices that either give a ship a margin or cut it away. In Rio, Cyclops took on more than ore. She took on torque. Some accounts mention engine trouble, others hint at a list in port. The truth is hard to fix. The further from disaster you stand, the sharper memories seem. The closer you look, the more they blur. What we know, the ship was heavily laden, over 10,000 tons of manganese. What we suspect, she wasn't riding as high as some would like. What we fear, small problems were dismissed as the normal aches of a hard-working vessel in wartime haste. The schedule demanded movement, and so she moved. Barbados was a brief stop. Coal, water, provisions, and a chance to look things over. Witnesses later said Cyclops rode low. Some said the weather ahead looked ordinary. In peacetime, ships dawdle for certainty. In wartime, they do not. On March 4th, Cyclops departed Barbados for Baltimore. A 10-day passage, routine on paper, lined with hidden variables in practice. Weather patterns, currents, the ship's trim, the cargo's behavior, human decisions, under fatigue, and a war neither seen nor paused. She left no message of distress, no report of attack. She simply sailed and, somewhere on that line between departure and destination, passed into absence. The Atlantic offers two kinds of messages, those made by men and those made by wreckage. Cyclops sent neither. When Cyclops missed her arrival, the Navy reacted with speed and scale. Search patterns radiated over the likely route. Wireless stations listened for faint signals. Patrol craft scanned horizons, looking for boats, rafts, planks, anything. They found nothing. No oil slick to trace, no debris line to read like a sentence, no lifeboat to interview with a blanket and hot tea. Nothing. Absence is not neutral. It suggests speed. Disasters that give you time give you signals. Disasters that do not, do not. In official language, the entry was short and terrible. Missing, cause unknown. In human language, it meant, the sea has kept all of them. News travels along nerves. In Baltimore, New York, and small towns with names you do not know, families waited. Telegraph boys became omens. The knock at the door became a cliff. Dramatized montage. The home letters. Telegram. Regret to inform you, and the vessel Cyclops is overdue and unreported. A mother. Overdue means late, late means delayed. Delayed means alive. A wife. They will say missing. Missing becomes gone. I refuse that word. A boy. Ma, when does a ship become a ghost? The newspapers offered explanations by the week. Mines, submarines, storms, traitors, triangles. The truth that unites them all is pain. Begin with the ocean and the ship. Theory. A. Structural failure. A long ship with heavy, dense cargo rides differently than one filled with coal or grain. If weight concentrated in a way that overstressed a midship span, or if a pre-existing weakness met a specific wave pattern, the hull could fail catastrophically. A ship can break without warning. In such events, the time between intact and in pieces is measured in seconds. Radio is technology. Seconds are biology. Theory B. Shifting cargo manganese ore is not liquid, but in certain conditions, it can behave like one. If trimming was imperfect, if a hold's content liquefied under vibration and surge, a sudden shift could capsize a ship faster than men can act. No call, no boats, only an inversion and a plunge. Theory C. Storm and rogue. Waves reports of the weather vary, but the Atlantic's violence does not require a named storm. Rogue waves, steep, isolated giants, are documented phenomena. A low-riding, heavily laden ship meeting a wall of water at the wrong angle can face forces beyond design. Again, speed is the enemy of signals. None of these theories demands villains or magic. They do not soothe, they explain how silence can happen. War bends truth as easily as steel. The year was 1918. German U-boats hunted the Atlantic. Espionage scares ran hot, and Cyclops' captain was German-born. Theory D. U-boat. Attack. Could a submarine have sunk Cyclops? In theory, yes. In practice, claims are thin. After the war, records did not reveal a U-boat taking credit for such a prize. A kill this large would be boasted over. Silence is suspicious. Theory E. Minefields, drifting mines, and laid fields posed threats. But the route from Barbados to Baltimore was not, to our knowledge, sown like the North Sea. A mine could destroy a compartment, even a ship, but it would more likely leave debris. Theory F. Sabotage or diversion rumor grew like ivy on the stone of Worley's reputation. Did the captain divert the ship? Did he hand her to an enemy? For such claims to hold, the ship must be seen again, somewhere. She was not. The sea is large, but not infinite. A collier cannot become invisible on land. Suspicion is a human need when the world does not answer. It tells us who to blame. The ocean does not listen. Cyclops vanished within a region later made famous as the Bermuda Triangle. Books and broadcasts have woven legends of compasses spinning, skies swallowing, and waters that erase evidence. We will not mock wonder. The ocean can feel supernatural when it behaves in ways we do not expect. Magnetic anomalies exist. Weather can pivot from calm to cruel in minutes. Currents can separate debris from origin so efficiently that cause and effect lose each other. But we owe the dead a grown-up respect. Extraordinary claims need extraordinary proof. In the case of Cyclops, we have mystery enough without summoning gateways and monsters. If the triangle is a curse, its ingredients are weather, math, and human limits. Cyclops had sisters, Proteus and Nereus. In the Second World War, both disappeared while carrying heavy cargoes. Similar designs, similar missions, similarly missing. Patterns invite conclusions. Perhaps a shared vulnerability. Long hulls, dense, loads harsh seas. If three ships vanish under related conditions, we can call it a coincidence, or we can call it a clue. No wrecks have yet told us the final word. But the trilogy speaks in a language easy to understand. When Steele is asked, "To bear too much, the sea may collect its due." More than a century after Cyclops cleared Barbados, the ship remains unfound. For the Navy, it is the greatest loss of life in a non-combat incident. For families, it is a chapter without a last page. For storytellers, it is a reminder that facts can sleep deep as trenches, and some questions do not wish to be woken. We end with what we know and what we hope. We know a great ship sailed and vanished. We hope that one day sonar will touch her steel, and divers will return with truth. Until then, we honor the 309 by refusing to turn them into caricatures of a legend. They were sons, brothers, fathers, friends, workers on a necessary ship in a terrible war. Some nights the Atlantic looks like a field of iron under a thin moon. Sailors say the sea remembers. If that is true, it remembers the Cyclops. It remembers 309 hearts, and the weight of oar, and a silence that fell so quickly it made no sound at all. Somewhere below, perhaps, Steele sleeps. You've been watching Mystery Story. If you have a theory or a memory, leave it in the comments below. And as always, keep your eyes on the horizon.